all, I would like thanks to organizer who has given me this opportunity to present the incidental thyroid cancer. So as you know, the thyroid is a nodular disease common in adult population, and this nodule may occur as a single nodule or multiple nodule, and that may be hyperfunctioning or hypofunctioning or normal functioning, and majority are treated with surgically, and sometimes there is a final histopathology turns out to be malignant, and majority of these malignancy are very small, and 99% of incidentally detected carcinomas are papillary thyroid carcinomas. So these micropapillary thyroid cancer may be broadly defined as papillary cancer of the thyroid which is less than 10 millimeters of size by WHO, and patients are not likely to die from this type of cancer. So most do not have a recurrence after this initial therapy. So however, the initial therapy is somewhat controversial. Some experts believe that more aggressive treatment is required in these type of patients, including the surgery and radioiodine therapy, and some experts believe that there is less aggressive treatment and there is no role of radioiodine therapy. However, the more recent studies seems to be learned towards the more aggressive treatment. The incidence of thyroid nodule in adult population in US is around 20 to 40 per 1,000 populations, and approximately 1 out of 20 nodules having a cancer. So that means 1 to 2 thyroid cancer per 1,000 population is there, and that is further higher in our goitrogenic areas. This thyroid cancer represents about 1% of all carcinoma, and papillary carcinoma account for majority and about 80% of thyroid cancer. The incidence of papillary thyroid microcarcinoma is very high, and that is about 3 to 35% in autopsy series and around 2 to 4% in incidentally. So we are more interested in this 2 to 24% of incidental thyroid detected papillary microcarcinoma, and that is increasing gradually in C database. So we can prevent this incidentally detected thyroid cancer by diagnosing before surgery. So for diagnosing before surgery, we need a suspicion of microcarcinoma, some clinical features suggestive of carcinoma, and USG features and others. To diagnose the papillary microcarcinoma in preoperative period, we need a high index of suspicion and few features that can help in diagnosis of papillary microcarcinoma of thyroid. The thyroid microcarcinoma are discovered incidentally, therefore typically majority are asymptomatic. The average size of nodule is about 6 millimeter, so it is difficult to palpate during the clinical examinations. Multiple foci can be found in one or both lobes. The reported prevalence of multiple foci varies 30 to 40% of cases, whereas bilateral disease is found in approximately 20% of the involved gland. The patient may present as cervical lymphadenopathy. It discovered in 25 to 43% of the patients with thyroid microcarcinoma. So we have to be very careful during the clinical examination of these type of patients, so we can pick up some nodes early and get the biopsy. Extrathyroidal extension is primarily microscopic in nature and may present as fixity of the nodule, but it is not about 15 to 21% of the patient. And the distant metastasis is very rare in this micropapillary carcinoma, but it is around 1% to 2.8%. So in preoperative period, during doing the ultrasound, you have to be very careful to rule out the malignancy in the preoperative period. And the features suggestive of malignancies are microcalcifications, irregular margins of nodule, taller than wider dimension, anterior-posterior diameter larger than the transverse diameter, increased vascularity, presence of lymphadenopathy, increase in size on follow-up cases. The finite aspiration cytology of incidentally detected on imaging, so usually they are small, and routine FNAC is not recommended in sub-centimeter nodules. According to the American Thyroid Association and American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists suggest that nodule less than 10 centimeter should be examined by US guided FNAC if the presence of suspicious feature on ultrasound, history of radiation on neck, and positive family history of thyroid cancer. So if you have a goiter of the patient and on FNAC it is benign, he was treated by either hemithyroidectomy or total thyroidectomy. The possible final histopathology could be papillary thyroid cancer, benign, or follicular thyroid cancer or medullary thyroid cancer. But these follicular thyroid cancer and medullary thyroid cancer are usually suspected in the preoperative period. So the actual incidental thyroid cancer is the papillary thyroid cancer, and majority are the micropapillary thyroid cancer. So before going to the management of these incidentally detected carcinoma, we have to restage the tumor and then manage it. So for the restaging, after detection of the carcinoma, we have to restage according to the age of the patient, lymph node status of the disease, extrathyroidal extension, distant metastasis, grade of the tumor, and histological variants of different papillary thyroid cancer. So if you see the AJCC classification, all micropapillary cancers are in the T1 stage. And staging is both for the age less than 45 years and age for more than 45 years, both are in the stage 1 group. There are various various variants of papillary thyroid cancers. They have prognostic importance, that is more aggressive group, better prognosis, and no evidence and no difference with the classical one. So the more aggressive group are important because the diffuse sclerosing variant, tall cell variants, trabecular variants, and dedifferentiated variants are important. But in micropapillary, the diffuse sclerosing and tall cell variants are there. So these two variants should be looked carefully because it guide to the further management of the incidentally detected papillary microcarcinoma. According to the ATA guidelines, the low-risk group patients there is no local distant metastasis, or all macroscopic tumors has been resected, or there is no tumor invasion of locoregional tissue or structures. And tumor does not have aggressive histology, and there is no residual uptake during the radioiodine whole body scan. Apart from this restaging of the tumor, there are some complicating factors in the thyroid cancer, and these includes the familial disease. If the patient micropapillary also reported in the familial group, if the family history is positive for thyroid cancer, that means that is a very aggressive type of tumor. And up to 50% of the cases has been reported with red PTC rearrangement. And if there is a red PTC3 positive papillary thyroid cancer has been there, that is more aggressive behavior. The BRAF mutation has been also reported in papillary microthyroid cancer, and the papillary microthyroid cancer who has harboring the active mutation of BRAF gene have a more aggressive behavior. The second is the multifocality. The multiple foci are the common feature of papillary thyroid cancer, same for the micropapillary also. The genetic analysis has been done in multiple papillary thyroid cancer foci. Some have a same derivation, but some have an independent clonal origin. So these are as an important predictor for the early recurrence. The recurrence rate is associated with extent of the thyroid surgery also. If you do the total thyroidectomy, there is recurrence chances is only 2.3 to 5%. But if there is less than total thyroidectomy, then recurrence chance is very high, about 8.2 to 25% of the patients. So multifocality also appear to be associated with increased risk of locoregional lymph node involvement, and up to 5.6-fold increase as per the one reports. Then cervical lymph node involvement. The cervical node involvement may represent in patients with microcarcinoma. When there is a cervical lymphadenopathy is present, the future lymph node recurrence is increased significantly, and that is around 11 to 22% in comparison to 0.8 to 6% in the node negative patients. There is increased risk of distant metastasis with presence of cervical lymphadenopathy. So patient presenting with palpable cervical lymph node, the recurrence rate is 16% after therapeutic node dissection, compared with the 0.43% in a prophylactic neck dissections. The modified radical neck dissection in microcarcinoma with ultrasonography documented abnormal lymph nodes has been shown a potentially important recurrence-free survival. The patient found to have abnormal cervical lymph node preoperatively, especially palpable nodes, should undergo therapeutic lymph node dissections. Next is the distant metastasis. The distant metastasis appear to be very low in microcarcinoma. It is around 0.2 to 2.85%, and the patient with papillary thyroid cancers, distant metastasis have a significantly worse prognosis. So these patients should be treated more aggressively to include the use of surgery, radioiodine ablation, and other treatment modalities. The Graves' disease. Sometimes the papillary thyroid cancer associated with the Graves' disease, and it is around 1 to 9% of the cases. And there has been concern that thyroid cancer may behave more aggressively in Graves' disease of the patients. But in case of micropapillary thyroid cancer, it does not appear like this. In one report, the patient with incidental microcarcinoma associated with Graves' disease actually did better than the control in disease-free follow-up. The Graves' disease does not appear to be associated with negative impact in prognosis of papillary microcarcinoma. So after this restaging and some other aggressive features, we have to again see what is the treatment strategy in these patients. So after diagnosis, restaging, and then we have three options. Either we keep it observing these type of patients, or we do the completion total thyroidectomy, or if the patient already have total thyroidectomy, then whether we go for the lymph node dissection or followed by the levothyroxine suppression or radioiodine ablation. So according to the NCCN guidelines, if you see that papillary carcinoma found post-lobectomy in the benign disease. So if there is a negative margin, no contralateral lesion, less than 1 centimeter in diameter, no suspicious lymph node, then follow these patients with thyroglobulin level and put on the thyroxine suppression. So all these patients who are small thyroid cancer and operated as a hemithyroidectomy, that can be followed with this thyroglobulin level and under suppression of levothyroxine therapy. So how this philosophy has come, that because the autopsy study shows that there is 0.5 to 5.2% of the patients have papillary microcarcinoma. The Takebi et al. Performed a mass screening for thyroid using ultrasound and ultrasound guided FNAC, and they found thyroid carcinoma in 3.5% otherwise healthy women for more than 30 years of age. And 75 of these carcinoma is less than 15 millimeters of size. The prevalence of subclinical papillary thyroid cancer have found to be 1,000 times higher than that of clinical thyroid carcinoma. So that means there is findings strongly suggest that most low-risk papillary thyroid cancer lacking aggressive feature are harmless, and immediate surgery for all them is definitely an over-treatment of the disease. So it can be assumed that all advanced papillary thyroid cancer was initially as a microcarcinoma, and then gradually in the long follow-up we can differentiate whether this is progressive microcarcinoma or harmless microcarcinoma. So there is a study by this Ito et al. From Kuma Hospital, Japan, and they did that observation of all these 1,235 patients of micropapillary carcinoma. The observation period was 18 months and average was around 60 months. They excluded the patients who had the regional lymph lymphadenopathy or sign and symptoms of invasion of recurrent laryngeal nerve or trachea, and or the fine needle aspiration cytology suggestive of high-grade malignancy. So these patients has been excluded, and some patients, 191 patients underwent surgery because of either progression of the disease or enlargement of the coexisting benign nodule, or there is a difficulty in controlling the coexisting Graves' disease or change in the preference of the patients. So if you see the figures follow-up, after the 10 year of the follow-up, they found that there is 4.9 to 8% patients only develop showing the increase in the size. The rest all in the stationary stage. In the second graph, you see that 1.7% to 38% patients only develop the lymph node in the 10-year follow-up. And similarly, the 3.9% patient to 6.8% patients in 10-year follow-up develop the clinical evident disease. So they conclude that if you follow these type of patients, micropapillary cancers, that is can be harmless to the patients. The second is the completion thyroidectomy. After observation, you can do the completion thyroidectomy in the patients who has more aggressive disease than the low risk group patients. So before going to before pursuing to completion total thyroidectomy, one must assess the potential risk of benefits such as course. It may be determined whether completion thyroidectomy will improve patient's outcome. So as for the mortality is less, so you can see the whether this is potential to reduce the morbidity of the disease. In one study shows that in 50-year period, they shows the higher recurrence rate seen in node positive patients, and there is higher recurrence rate in unilateral lobectomy patients. So completion total thyroidectomy in patients with thyroid microcarcinoma is important to consider any complication factor in the decision-making process affecting the management of thyroid cancer include the presence of bilateral nodularity, cervical lymphadenopathy, local distant metastasis, tumor multifocality, or there is aggressive subtype of papillary thyroid cancers. According to the NCCN guidelines, if you see that aggressive variants or there is macroscopic multifocal disease, positive isthmus margin, cervical lymph node metastasis, then these patients require completion total thyroidectomy. So advantage of completion total thyroidectomy that you complete removal of the disease, you can do the radioiodine ablation if needed, and thyroglobulin monitoring during the follow-up. So after the total thyroidectomy, you can go for the suppression therapy or radioiodine therapy. So the patients who require the radioiodine therapy, the patients who has the tumor multicentricity, positive lymph node status, or capsular or vascular invasion, these patients require radioiodine therapy. So in follow-up, although this ATA not recommended radioiodine therapy in less than 1 centimeter without high-risk patients, but in case of if there is a high-risk features are present, then you go for the radioiodine therapy, or there is multifocality with high-risk patient, you go for the radioiodine therapy. And this also facilitate the initial staging and follow-up of these type of patients. There is recent study published recently that they shows that patients with lymph node status have, if you do the radioiodine therapy, there is less chances of recurrence. So they recommend that radioiodine ablation is necessary with lymph node metastasis in these type of patients. Then suppression therapy, the routine use of thyroxine suppression therapy is recommended in the management of papillary microcarcinoma. The ATA recommend that whether you give the radioiodine therapy or not give the radioiodine therapy, in these type of patients you have to maintain the TSH level 0.1 to 0.5 milliunits per liter. In follow-up, you need 6 to 12 month interval to do the whole body scanning or thyroglobulin level or neck ultrasound. But in case of you, if you not give the radioiodine therapy, then the increased level of thyroglobulin is suggestive of increased normal thyroid tissue. So in that case, the ultrasound is the best modality for the surveillance of this type of patients. So ultrasound imaging is useful detecting locoregional disease with cervical lymph node being a most likely of recurrence of the patients. In low risk patient, the combination of thyroglobulin with ultrasound have a high sensitivity around 96.3% with the negative predictive value of 99.5%. So after total thyroidectomy, ultrasound is very sensitive to detect the abnormal lymph nodes. And if the lymph node is in large and round shape, loss of hyperechoic hilar signals and vascular flow of the lymph node is in the periphery, that is suggestive of malignancy. So in the algorithm, if you see that after thyroxine suppression patients, you do the 6 to 12 monthly follow-up and alternate stimulating and non-stimulating thyroglobulin, or ultrasound of the neck and radio scan. So if there is thyroglobulin level is stable, then keep on follow-up. If the thyroglobulin level is rising, that means disease is rising. So you have to search the disease by either ultrasound or by the whole body scan. If the disease is found, so you do the CT scan to localize the disease and then followed by the surgery. So in summary, as a group with microcarcinoma is excellent prognosis, and a significant number of patients present with multifocal disease or locoregional lymph node, both of which are associated with increased risk of recurrence. And total thyroidectomy appear of a benefit over the less than total thyroidectomy in this group of patients. And the efficacy of radioiodine in preventing recurrence in the patient's multifocal disease is also in question, although ablation can ease the follow-up and surveillance. So initial TSH suppression level keeping between the 0.1 to 0.5 milliunit per liter is recommended, and more strict TSH suppression is recommended in patients with more aggressive features. So radioiodine ablation is frequently not indicated. That's why the whole body radioiodine scan and TG level has a limited use, and neck ultrasound can be useful in the effective means of surveillance. So our protocol is, if we discovered this micropapillary cancer before surgery, then we do the total thyroidectomy and central compartment lymph node dissection. And if we discovered at the time of surgery by frozen section, then we do the same protocol. And if we discovered after the surgery, means after final histopathology, we do the completion thyroidectomy along with the central compartment lymph node dissection. And lateral neck dissection is only in case of enlarged lymph node or it is Trojan positive lymph nodes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gyat.